Step 1. Start the journey. Every IT organisation must manage its resources, yet many organisations do not confidently have a handle on the unit cost of operations, nor do they make informed evidence-based decisions. They may be able to tell you how many resources they have overall, the total value of their asset portfolio, their investment pipeline, and their contract portfolio. But how many know what the unit cost of servers, storage, applications, databases, or networks? And how many refer to this information when signing that new managed service contract, that vendor agreement, or a decision to restructure resource profiles? A true test of a well-oiled and optimized IT shop is common understanding of the unit change in unit cost over time. This underpins management decisions. Step 2. Build awareness and desire for change. With our clients, we initiate a targeted change management program from the onset. This involves a series of workshops to articulate the scope and objective, the methodology, and the benefits achievable, including initial priority focus areas. Our continuous awareness campaign covering the taxonomy and TBM best practice is instrumental in instilling awareness and desire across the management team. Given the new concepts being introduced, it is important to focus on reiterating fundamentals of the TBM approach at every step of the journey to ensure those objectives are reached. Overall executive sponsorship is a critical success factor to change. Step 3. Assess current maturity of processes and source data systems and tailor your approach. From our understanding and experience, this has been a challenging area across many IT shops, with repeated attempts at deploying configuration management databases proving not so successful. In particular, access to holistic data describing, for example, server-to-application relationships in a number of cases was not housed in a supported system, but rather in Excel tables, Word documents, or corporate knowledge in people's heads. By any means, maturity in this space would be considered low to average across the board. That said, while most clients do not have a holistic view of their world, they largely do actually have this information. After all, key SMEs need this information in order to do their jobs, such as provision storage space to meet application requirements, ensure there is a sufficient compute space to meet application demand, or ensure vendors are delivering sufficient service outputs to meet the needs of their customers. A complete absence of this information is a sign of a much larger problem. As such, in the majority of cases, silos or pockets or SMEs exist across the organisation that have a detailed view of their functional area of responsibility. It's a matter of tapping into those views, accepting maturity level and format, augmenting views with an estimates-based approach, and adopting a pragmatic data maturity plan to centralise and improve over time. Our recommendation is to focus on 80% coverage up front to drive an outcome and work on the remaining 20% over time. By no means do we advise our clients to target 100% accuracy. After all, cost estimation is not an exact science. An 80% focus initially helps cement a foundation that can be built upon over time. Overall, this approach enables a rapid outcome that falls well within the ballpark, with a rational basis underpinned by a tried and tested methodology that can be maintained dynamically as changes occur in the environment. Clearly an outcome that is better than a point-in-time position or no outcome at all. Step 4. Focus on quick wins. Avoid the pitfalls of attempting to drive TBM implementation from start to finish without focus on ROI deliverables. We have assisted our public sector clients to rapidly develop their TBM capability through resource hours to infrastructure based on the maturity of their existing operations, which typically exposes low-hanging fruit or ROI opportunity areas that can be exploited. Some examples of quick wins we have delivered for clients include right-sizing server workloads through assessment of provisioned or planned compute capacity versus actual compute consumption, typically delivering anywhere from 10 to 25% annual savings over the total lifecycle of compute infrastructure. Storage consolidation, generally housekeeping of a storage workloads to remove redundant files, enforce corporate storage policies and compliance. This typically yields 20% savings. Decommissioning development environments. Again, another housekeeping activity, but one technologists continue to overlook or have no knowledge of how much the organisation is actually paying for these environments. Savings can vary wildly depending on specific circumstances in this case. Identify excess vendor contract spend through assessment of provision services or software licenses versus actual consumption. Conduct invoice audits and so on. These activities by my practical experience, highlight opportunities to save at least 5 to 10% in this space. Revisit sourcing strategies. Transit ad hoc infrastructure or service delivery requirements to on-demand models such as cloud. Workforce planning. Identification of total technology workforce pool by skill set. Assessing latent capacity and maximising deployment of the existing resource pool, including sequencing projects prior to advertising for new staff. Realising value creates a self-perpetuating momentum for a TBM implementation and drives buy-in across the management cohort and SMEs as they begin to see how this newfound cost intelligence can underpin their day-to-day business. Step 5. Use service cost transparency to establish a baseline budget. Positioning your TBM capability to underpin the routine budget cycle process ultimately will aid transforming your IT organisation from a cost centre to a value centre. Establishing an open and transparent dialogue with business and senior management ensures your customers understand the cost of supplying IT resources, technology platforms and applications. You can demonstrate efficiency through trend cost change over time, or otherwise demonstrate cost pressures outside of your control. The budget process shifts from scrutiny of supply-side IT costs to a demand-focused scrutiny of service consumption by business units. Your customers are empowered to change their behaviours to reduce overall IT costs for the organisation.